what the customer wants when the customer wants it. It will begin with a detailed weekly 7-digit
Did
manufacturer.
everybody get a copy of the agenda? Pinchy, did you get a copy in email?
The one from Catherine Wakefield?
Yeah, I went through the options also. She had listed the various options on my mail.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we start with scenario one? Milosh, did you make any headway with SHI and Intel about the cards?
The existing cards, SHI talked to Intel, and they will actually take them back as long as they haven't been unpacked, the seal is unbroken, they haven't been unpacked or touched or anything, because that way Intel can just resell them as brand new. I haven't figured out exactly how financially it'll work out, because they can't write us a check and it's going to deposit it in the bank account. So I don't know exactly how the financial transaction is going to work out yet, but Intel said that they would be willing to take those back.
And they haven't been opened.
As far as we're aware, they haven't been opened. I mean, no one's been directed to open them. So unless people got really curious and opened them without authorization, they should still all be packaged.
How many cards are we talking about? 23?
23 cards.
23. And it's still the same number?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's good.
Would Intel be willing to sell those cards to eTalk at the same price?
Just spin them around.
That we haven't figured out whether they'll be able. Intel pretty much said that they'll just take them back,
Right.
and then resell them to whoever.
SHI, whatever it is.
Right.
The credit us, we do a lot of purchases.
Yeah,
so it shouldn't be a problem.
I think they may give us a credit,
Yeah.
but that gives us a credit with SHI, which doesn't really solve our problem if we're trying to pay eTalk then for the actual dialogic boards later on.
Yeah.
When they go and purchase them. That's why because typically SHI just puts a credit with us there, so when we go to buy hardware from them the next time, we don't have to dish out any cash.
Yeah, the other one.
But that doesn't solve our problem here.
This whole capital process which we have, where we need to do a review and, they deduct it from, I don't know how the internal team does it, So if they credit it back, could we utilize it? That my portfolio could use money for some other effort? Because we got to now pay eTalk 15% more,
Right. Well, we should be able to utilize that credit towards any project, as far as I understand. But we'd have to find, some capital source somewhere within IT that would allow us to pay eTalk for the hardware that they purchase. And that financial transaction aspect of it, I haven't gotten all the information.
Well, the net here, though, is in the FARI organization, hopefully, you're going to get a credit.
Right.
And then if you were buying 23 for some other project, which God knows you'll be doing before the year's out, then that money that you used for that could be moved over. I mean, it's going to just be an accounting nightmare, but it's going to...
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be an accounting nightmare, and that's what I'm trying to get feedback from.
Accounting nightmare. There are a couple of things. eTalk, when they purchase the card, it should not be more expensive than what we got from Intel to SHI. That is one clear point. Okay? It can be less or it can be the same. So we need to ensure from eTalk that they're not going to buy the same card at a higher price. The other issue is when eTalk adds 15% more, okay? Now we have to go through this whole capital management, review within IT and ensure that IT is fine with, paying that 15% more and they have the necessary budget for this project. So, from a budget standpoint, even to buy the additional cars, you already have it in the pipeline?
To buy them through ETOC, that's not in the pipeline yet.
Yeah, because you remember Roberta Allison said,
Right.
okay, ETOC would go and purchase it, but as long as it is in the, it is in the capital management process, and it is entered in the system, and it is approved, then, ETOC could be paid.
Well, we've set up a whiteboard session for next week. They haven't given us a final time yet. And until, they won't actually let us push it through the pipeline until we've gone through the whiteboard session and gotten that approved. So and then after that we have to go to the architecture overview before the order can actually be placed for anything.
Yeah, but just clarify a few points for me. Is this project in the approved list of FARI, for the additional costs for this year?
It hasn't been submitted for this year because originally we were thinking that it was all purchased last year and that we wouldn't have to revisit the hardware aspect of the project. So it wasn't submitted in January when most of the other projects were submitted. So we got the information, we put together the information for the number of servers that we're going to need and the call centers to sort of supplement what was already there, and that was finalized on Friday last week. And so based on that information, we put in a request to set up a whiteboard session and get this this hardware put through the pipeline process. But it's
Once you get into the pipeline process, Bill, you're aware of this whole budget issue on the hardware, and I do not, that is the suspicion I have, how it gets passed through all this. And now, if we add another 15% which needs to be paid for ETOC, how, they're going to take care of that, what I'll do is I'll try to get Roberta Allison into this call, because I think still, these issues are not resolved.
Yeah, well, we gotta, if we're gonna have a position with ETOC, we gotta get them resolved this morning so we know what to say to them.
Pitchy, the 15% that you're talking about is maintenance and COPS money, and we have that, and that, once we figure it out, what you need, that will be transferred over to you from Rocco Giamondo's group.
Okay.
Okay.
So are you saying that 15% they're going to charge is COPS and ongoing maintenance?
Yes, that will be
Right.
transferred over to you for all of the
Okay.
sites, both
Okay.
east and west.
That answers that question. Then if SHI could credit us and with that amount, I'll get Roberta Allison on the line right now and see whether, that amount could be paid to ETOC, when they produce the invoice. Now then, how many additional salary cards do we need for the remaining rollouts? For the whiteboard session you're going to have,
Yeah, I'm looking that up.
How many additional?
We need, I believe, 52 additional cards.
52.
Above and beyond the 23?
Right.
you need 52 additional cards,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And what about the servers? Is all that approved?
There's 14 more servers that need to be
Right.
ordered.
And,
And that,
Okay.
well, it hasn't, we won't get approval until after we've gone through the whiteboard and the architecture overview sessions. But we've talked to some of those folks, and at least from a perspective of getting an exception, we should be able to do that. Based on the same principle that we used to get the exception for the other East call centers last year.
Yeah, I am
The-
not worried
the-
about the exception.
Yeah, you're worried about the-
exception of placing it in the call center, I think Roberta has already approved that.
Right, okay.
If
said 14 more
once we
servers.
get the thermal school in the call center, that shouldn't be a problem. What I'm worried about is this whole hardware having limited budget and whether this is an approved project and you will get those 14 additional servers and 63 or 62 additional cards.
52.
You know, because it's going to the pipeline now and it has to be approved. So do we have an SPM ID for this project? I think we do have, because it's in, you know, you have budget for DME for this, isn't it?
Right, I don't know if, well, I don't know if the SPM ID for 2003 has been created yet.
Now, you have budget, this 100,000 which we talked about, which you need for rollout.
Right,
It has to come, and it has to come into an SPM ID, isn't it?
right, that's correct.
Yeah, so
I
it
don't-
will create an SPM ID, and that 100,000 which you need for the rollout will be given to you. And you also need to include the WIPS cost, or whatever cost which the other areas need that, you know, to help you out in the rollout.
Right, to support Jerry Clark's organization, who's going to actually
Yes.
do the installation and
So we
stuff.
need to go to Gwen, I think it's Gwen Alexander or whatever, in Beth Lewis's shop, create a request and a SPM ID.
Yes,
We,
so once we create that, you know, once you go through
so we
the
can't use the
whiteboard session,
SPM ID from last
you
year,
know,
is what we're saying?
I
No,
think
they
getting
expire.
additional, you know, the process of getting additional servers with ETOC, that has been cleared by finance. Now it is a question of having the budget and giving us the necessary hardware. And then for the remaining 23, I'll get Roberta right now into the call to find out whether if SHI gives us the credit, could we use that money to pay these guys?
Yeah, before you do that, Peachy, let's understand, we'll open up another SPM ID, but
Yeah,
the money that'll be put in there will be money that you guys have got for us, the 100 grand.
That's coming from Rocco.
So we gotta figure out how we do that, because there's a finite pool of D&E dollars, so I know they can move money around.
Right.
So when we ask for the SPM ID from Gwen, just mention that this is a continuance of a project from last year, and that the 100,000 will be coming from marketing to provide the dollars.
yeah, that's fine. But did you have any other questions, Bill?
Well, I'm just trying to think before we add her on, is there anything else so we don't have to keep bugging the lady all day? Is there anything else that we might want to ask her?
I have a question from Meloche maybe, or Peachy. Jerry Clark, is he IT?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's IT.
And he's going to install the servers,
Well,
did you say?
they're going to install all the software on the servers.
Is that going to be remotely?
Yeah,
Yeah, the other group in
Okay,
Tampa.
right,
the
so they're going to do that
ECS group.
remotely, because eTalk would install the servers. Now, what kind of charges are associated with the Jerry Clark organization?
that, I don't have a figure from Jerry yet, and we put in a request to get
Yeah,
their estimate, but they haven't come back to us
Come back,
yet.
yeah?
we're working
Um,
on that now.
Right. And Juan and Sue,
The problem is that they had questions we couldn't answer because we needed to get all this stuff solved.
right,
I'm
and
a-
without knowing exactly how many servers
There were and where they were
there were
actually
and what they're
going.
doing, they can't give an estimate.
Because I'm assuming that his expenses would be in addition to the 100,000 that's going to be transferred, or is that part of the 100,000?
Well, that's what,
That's what we were hoping the other day it would be covered.
right, we were hoping that it would be covered, because I don't know what their figure is going to come out to, but we won't need all the funding that we initially anticipated needing, because we're not going to be doing the operating system installation and stuff like that we
Net,
were originally
hopefully
expecting.
100. We gotta make 100 work, because what the money is, we're just not gonna get any more, and this will blow up.
So, I mean, hopefully we can make the 100 work, but I can't say for sure until
Right.
I know what, how much Jerry Clark is gonna need.
Now, you said 14 more servers. How many do we have in the footprint already?
In the east, 12 servers already, so that's 26, but actually one of those servers are
for test labs,
for test
actually,
labs,
technically.
right. One would be a test lab for the DMS in White Plains, and the other one would basically backfill the test lab that we have in Royal Ridge.
Okay.
So 24 would be out in the field.
I had a question about that. What is the capital expenses? To avoid capital expenses, IT will try and swap out the service and developing plans purchased for the data centers with the individual that is handling the speech department. What does that state?
That was, remember last year, for speech IT, or the folks that placed the orders, ordered a bunch of Compaq servers instead of IBM servers. And so those for the data center, and then those came to us so that speech could go and purchase the right servers. And so we've got a pool of servers that's been allocated to this project that's sitting in COD right now. And we're hoping to put those back.
Are these within the 12? Are these within the 24 or 14 you mean?
Well, the 12 servers in the call centers have been purchased. They're there, and those have been allocated already, and we have access to them.
Okay.
There's an additional 13 servers in the data that were allocated to us in the data center, but it's just a piece of paper. We didn't actually get physical servers. And those are the ones that we were looking to basically put back in the COD pool, and then utilize funds from essentially have another project take those, and then utilize their capital funds to purchase the ones in the call center.
So the net is, we're talking about an incremental of one server potentially.
Right.
We really need some money for it, which in the scheme of things ought to not be an issue.
Yeah. So it looks like, what I was concerned about is that there's going to be limited budget and all that. I don't think we have that issue anymore because the servers are already there and it's going to be swapped with another project. And we can get those servers.
The details still have to be nailed down because we haven't. I talked to our asset management folks. I guess it was Monday last week to initiate that process of swapping out the servers, but it hasn't. The details of who's going to take those servers, where we're going to get the money, and stuff like that hasn't been finalized yet.
Who do you need we need to get this all accomplished here soon.
Okay,
to say the least.
And
what can we do to help you, or can Peachy help you? Is this VIPS, or
it's
within us.
within your group? Well, within Far East?
Within Far East.
Yeah, Far East and IT. Yeah. Not VIPS, it's Linear Shantmas.
Okay.
I remember this, I don't think, what is your confidence level, Deloge,
well, when I
do I need to reach out to Diaz, or do I need to reach out to Mike Nagar?
It'll probably
to confirm.
It'll probably help, at least to speed it up, if nothing else. Because I've reached out to them and they said that, since the servers were allocated when I think it was like November last year, and we're already looking. It's a new year and all that stuff. When I talked to Elaine, she said it'll take some time to get all of the. We have to go and convince them that those servers were allocated to us, that they haven't, given them out to someone else and all that
stuff. Let me understand this right. Now, there are 13 servers sitting somewhere in the data center, which were purchased for e-talk.
Correct.
The servers were not the right servers, so we're going to swap it out for the speech program because speech needs those servers, and in replacement of that, e-talk will get the necessary appropriate service. Is that right?
Everything is correct except that we're swapping those with speech. Speech doesn't need those servers. That's the one detail that's tricky. We don't know what project we will swap these servers to. That's the one part of this that hasn't been determined yet.
What type of servers are these?
They're all standard compact servers for the data center.
Okay.
So they're all a bunch of 380s.
And what do you need? You need
370.
We need
IBM or
370s.
HP or what is it?
We need compacts again, but 370s instead of 380s.
Okay. So and they went and got 380.
Right. And so the 380s, since they're standard for the data center, pretty much any application that uses standard Intel hardware can use those servers. And we just need to identify which project would be able to utilize these servers and swap
Now,
those
this
with them.
goes back to the question of ETOC not using standard servers. Could we push ETOC to use these servers?
Peachy, it's Melody, and the server, the 370 was dictated to ETOC for use by Christian Poe, because ETOC was using a different server, and Christian told us at the beginning when we met with him down in Dallas that ETOC had to use the 370, so that's why we're using the 370.
The main problem is that the 380 has three PCI slots, and the 370 has 7 slots. And since we're going to the call center and using the 12-port dialogic boards instead of the 48-port dialogic boards, we need to have up to 4 slots available. And there's a couple of situations where we need 5. And the 380 just doesn't have the space.
So we gotta go with the 370, and that's what was originally.
Right,
Right,
and that's why we went with the 370 originally.
But I gotta believe, Peachy, and again, maybe you can help Malosh with this, that 13 compact 380s will be easily used somewhere in the Verizon footprint that Far East.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Only thing is, I want to confirm that they don't, so that they don't tell me, oh, you didn't tell me, and this is the speed and all that. So now when I write that mail, I give the timeline also by which we need it,
Yeah.
So they can take their own time to get all these things, and make these swaps and all this.
Yeah,
So it's a question of giving them the timeline and giving them the specification we need, and them saying, yes, I will satisfy your needs.
Yeah. Something I wanted to say at the outset, Peachy, is, my goal, I think our goal, if everybody agrees, is to get this done today, if humanly possible. To be honest with you, I probably can't stay here tomorrow now with some things that have come up, and to be honest with you, realizing where we're at, I think we're in good enough shape to be able to negotiate what we need to do with ETOC and get it done if we have to stay till midnight tonight, which I can't believe we will have to. The more
I
important...
don't think so. I think if I was worried about going and getting 13 new servers. It looks like the servers are already there. And I have 2 action points which I need to clear by 2 o'clock. One of the things which we talked about, the 370 versus the 380, I want to get a confirmation from, the respective IT. The other one is if we get the 23, if we give back the 23 cards, that they'll give a credit and we can use the credit to pay these guys, ETOC when they buy it. And the only condition with ETOC is their purchase price should not be higher than what we purchased. Okay.
Other than the maintenance, which we've covered with cops.
Yeah.
What I was, so we can add that lady on maybe here and get that done as a group, but what I'm hoping is that we can get this done today, have a, agreement in principle that we can then go through and figure out the signatures, but walk out of here tonight with that. And then tomorrow, use the time for Malosh and Melody or whomever, and let's get the internal stuff done, so that out of tomorrow, we can come out with, here's what's been accomplished, we're ready to go.
Right.
And in fact, here's the schedule to get now business back on track.
Right.
And that's what I'd like to see come out of tomorrow's session with the working team, because you were planned on being here anyway.
Right.
And then, then Peachy, by, the end of this week, we can send something up the line to Tammy and to Judy and to everybody and say, hey, we're good, we're moving now.
Yeah,
You agree?
Yeah.
yeah.
So, the key thing, I think, that, to be honest with you, the e-talk thing is probably going to be easier now than the internal stuff that we need to add this lady on and make sure we got all the things agreed upon.
And from the capital perspective, I have one concern, which is we need to get 56 additional Dialogic cards.
56, right, I was going to correct, because I said 52 before, but it's
56?
56
Is it
cards. We have 23,
Okay.
and we need 56.
56, all right.
I just double-checked the number.
56 additional to the...
Additional, right.
cards. And these are 12-port cards, and I think it's, we got one 48-port card per server in the data center. Now, the 12-port cards are only half the price, but you need 4 times as many. And
Well, the other-
so we've got a gap in the
Yeah.
capital between the Dialogic cards that were purchased for the data center and the Dialogic cards that we need for the call center.
Right. Now, the thing is, too, though, I mean, we didn't, contact eTalk, but I noticed in the West that some of the sites got 12 and 24 port. Now, for some reason, on Chuck's schematic that he sent us originally, he had just 12 port for
Right.
the East, and I'm not sure, so we figured it out only on 12 port
Right,
cards,
and
but
it
we
was
might be
based
able
on-
to use 24.
From what I understood, they only support the 12 ports with the DMS.
DMS,
That's what
okay.
I was gonna say, but it's
And,
because it's a
and
DMS.
we were pushing for the 48 port to reduce the number of cards, but then
Right.
the $50,000 certification came in and all that stuff.
Right.
But, we're essentially looking at, spending twice as much money on the Dialogic
Right.
cards.
The other thing is you need cards because in the West, they could use a different procedure for tips to get in. In other words, I shouldn't say that. In the West, each center has its own server. So it's only 1 or 2, maybe 3 people if you consider compliant. In the East, we had to consider that one server is going to handle maybe 3 to 5 centers. So now you have 5 tips people that are in there. And, they're the folks that came up with the money to do this, so we have to accommodate them. So we had to size it to say, okay, we know we need at least this many ports for those folks, and then we'll need X amount of playback. And we
Right.
tried to keep it at, the barest minimum.
The bare.
That will cover everybody, so.
Right.
So let me understand, we need 56 12-port cards.
Right.
56 12-port cards because of the DMS.
Right.
And what did we think, what was priced originally?
Originally was the 13 48-port cards.
13 48-port cards.
And those are somewhere in the $4,000 range.
You sure?
4.5 or 5. Maybe it's close to 5,000. I can't.
And the others were, the 12 ports were all at 2,100, right?
Right.
The cost per card,
Yeah, so the cost per card on the 12 port is a little bit more than half a little less than half price of the 48 port, but we need almost, 4 times as many.
I got it. What is the cost per 12 foot?
It's about 2,100.
21.95, I think, was your price, and
21.95.
29.95 was eTalk's
We need
original
some
price.
120,000.
So what's the delta?
So,
Bring a calculator.
13 times. Somewhere.
Now, but there's no, we have to go with the 12-port cards because of the DMS. We've confirmed that with eTalk?
Well, eTalk won't, there are other cards that will work with the DMS, but not with the eTalk software. eTalk has only certified the 12-port cards with the DMS 100, and that's sort of the problem.
I
that we've
remember
had.
this discussion.
And they won't certify any other card for free.
If eTalk would certify another card for free as a backup, would that be an option? would we tell them what card to use? Or
I
give
mean, we
them a
recommend a
list?
48 port card, because,
All right, so
you know,
bottom
price
line-
per port is.
Well, let me ask you
get the
something now,
best
will the-
price per port, with a 48 port card.
So when
Does the-
E-Talk comes in here this afternoon and we say to them, listen, we agree with the 12-port card, but we need an option, can you certify the 48-port card for free?
And, well, thing is, they said, last time when we asked them, they came back with a $50,000 price
Because it's a
tag.
digital
It's
card,
a
right?
digital card, and they're programmed for
Analog.
for analog.
Okay, but still, if we ask them,
But
we
they're
can always ask them.
saying...
Yeah, I mean, we can ask them,
And they
but-
said they would do that, not for free, but they also said, I believe in our meeting up in your office, that it was the first time they were going to do that, and since it was digital versus analog, it was going to take them a considerable amount of time to do it, not the like normal turnaround. And in addition to that, they weren't sure that it would even work, because they would then have to change their software. So we're talking about bumping out this time frame again, significantly.
No, I'm saying, we go ahead with the 12-port card, but as an option, have them proceed at their leisure in doing the 48-port card.
Okay, the other two issues, Milosh, is it Elena or is it Mike Nagar?
I guess it's Mike Nagar who will ultimately place the orders. But he can't place the orders without central architecture approving the stuff, which is Rajesh Kumar's organization.
Same group, you know.
Excuse me?
Yeah, they all belong to Kenya.
Yes, that is correct. So if you go to Dinyar, you should be able to solve it all.
All right, Peachy, do your magic.
Oh God, that's a very difficult one.
Now, Pitchy, the person that participated in our AO session last year and approved the order of the 370s that we've already purchased for the call center was Jason Miller, and he's in Rajesh Kumar's organization.
Miller?
Yeah, Miller. M-I-L-L-E-R.
Okay, I don't have them in I have. Okay, Milosh, why can't you take a break from this group and then we'll hunt around these guys and you know, then we'll regroup with this one. These are the items that need to be closed. Once we close this issue, then everything falls in place.
Right.
Okay,
Okay, then our focus needs to be on that, isn't it, Bill?
yeah. Yeah, I just, you know, we got a lot of people here, so, you know,
Let's finish the agenda, I guess, and then
Yeah,
jump
I
on
wanna-
this issue.
yeah, because we'll probably be able to take a break then, but I want to be able to outline, we started to talk about, okay, you know, the architect, but what I'd like to do is start with, what's the goal here for the client? You know, when do we have to have this thing, and when do we want to get New Jersey? What is it, Scotch Plains and Oredale?
Yeah.
When do they have to be up? Let's start with, what's the desire, or what, you know, when do they have to be up, realizing August is coming here?
So I had originally told the folks over at HR and that in labor that we were going to get Scotch Plains and Oredale up by the end of March.
I have a question. Milosh, who was the architect from EA's team on this?
It was Shekhar Murthy.
Murthy?
Yeah.
Bunch of Irish names, huh?
Okay, I'm going to drop off and hunt these guys out and see what we can be done.
Okay, well, do you want to set up the bridge again at 11 o'clock?
Yeah, 11.
Or what time are they coming in?
They're coming in at 2.
Before 11, I have another one. So I'll try to get into the bridge as soon as they hunt down these guys.
You drop off the bridge dies, so,
No, I'll just leave the bridge on,
Okay,
and he can drop off and it'll just be sitting there
Okay.
idle.
Okay? Okay.
okay, thanks, Peachy. So, we said the end of March?
Right.
That was the original date that I had told these folks.
Okay, now but Bill, the server is there, the ICR is issued for the 12 lines that they need, and the ICR was issued to have the server installed. Everything's just sitting in limbo right now, just waiting for the go-ahead. So, I mean, we're pretty well in position to
Right.
get that Oradell server up. Jerry Clark's team's already been very proactive.
So Meloche, it really is this architecture, it's the stuff you gotta go through, right?
Actually, no, not
Wow.
for this particular deployment, it's pretty much just getting
E-Talk to
E-Talk
agree.
to agree to go out there and install it. That's it.
Well, we
From
should
the
be able to
Verizon
walk out of, in
perspective, we're
principle,
done.
we should be able to walk out of that tonight, this afternoon.
Right. And from Verizon's perspective, we're ready to move on it immediately.
So if we get E-Talk, I mean, we're essentially doing what E-Talk wants right now. I don't,
The only
unless you-
drawback is the 12, the one dialogic card is there is one that we purchased, so we have to,
That's right.
so
That may,
I mean,
oh, for
I'm just gonna
That's-
throw this out, and I know you all can come back and like...
You're not gonna,
but
my God, that
would it
should,
not be easier all around if E-Talk would agree just to take over those cards and pay the 15%, get the 15% maintenance, rather than have to do all this...
That's your scenario two instead of all the
right,
bookkeeping.
Right.
Just wait.
especially if we're talking one card, right?
At
Well,
least on that one.
At least on
we
that
could-
one,
yeah,
right,
on that
at least
one.
on
we
that
could
one.
even try to negotiate just the one card to get this out as soon as possible, and then maybe do the bookkeeping for the rest, or maybe we
agree.
start trying to negotiate that E-Talk accept all of the cards that we've already purchased, and then we can, if they don't agree to that, we can step down and finally drop
Say,
down
we'll
to
just
like the one or two cards
that we need to get in right away.
To get these
When you
centers
say all
right
the
away.
cards that are purchased, including the 23 that we're planning on returning?
Well,
No,
right,
just the
that's what I'm saying.
23
that
was planning on
These are
So
just
that's
the 23.
scenario two.
So 56
Right.
cards they would still purchase.
All the new cards, they'd be
But
purchased,
if
but the ones
Roberta-
that have already been purchased.
Yeah, but I thought the guarantee goes to the purchaser of the card. So if the card goes down, we're responsible for the card because
That's
we
right, you
purchased it.
have to take care of it, they won't.
Yeah, scenario two isn't, other than this one card, we just gotta tell them, hey, we gotta get this damn thing up.
Right.
Made a commitment, you guys, blah, blah, blah.
I was just, from a negotiating perspective, if we start with 22 and then negotiate down to 2, it might be,
The other scenario is
I
they would
don't
just
know.
buy the card and ship it when they ship their
One
software.
freaking card.
I don't think them buying a card is a problem. I think our major obstacle here is going to be getting E-Talk to agree to go back to that original contract, because you've come up with a new master agreement, correct? I have no clue what's in there. I don't know who did the pros and cons, but let me finish. I'm not sure, because I was not part of the negotiations, what else Pitchy or anybody else asked for and how far they got with that Roberta Allison or whatever her name was, okay? So I don't know how far down the road they are with the new contract. I know they're not finished because we never did roles and responsibilities. And, there's been let's face it, not good relationship the last month or so. So I'm not sure if we now go and say to E-Talk, or Bruce goes to E-Talk and says, we want you to go back to the way it was and undo everything. I think that's where our major hurdle is going to be.
I know.
So you talk swiftly today and convince them.
Let me understand something. There may be some wording that we can, whatever, work through here. But the reality is, other than one card, we're saying we want to do what you wanted to
I get
do.
it.
We're
Yeah,
gonna,
the-
you're gonna buy the stuff, we're gonna pay you for maintenance, you load the software, we're gonna call you when there's a problem. Right?
Got rid of all
And
the
then-
right.
You know what, the bottom line is, we could send that card back as well, and E-Talk would just send their own card.
Yeah.
right, it
Or-
might impact our timeline, though, that's the concern.
What
No, I don't
timeline?
think so.
Or E-Talk is gonna come back and say, we reviewed everything for the past year, and we've taken a hit, and we want to change the master agreement now. Okay? So, 2 months ago, E-Talk came to the table and we did an extension. Now, because of all the hoopla, they and Tim and myself and Roxanne have sat down with the Verizon, I want to use the term master agreement, which is really just the payables and the force majeures and the acts of God and the indemnification and who's responsible for that. But what we're going in to now is what I call is the business agreement. So in other words, if we come back and we say, look, we want everything exactly like it was with the GTE agreement, which I have here, which is the case where they don't charge for travel, or they'll turn it around in 24/7, or they'll do this and they'll do that, they may come back to us today and say, look, we thought it over and we're taking a beating. We don't want that. We don't want to do that anymore.
Then we'll go from there.
Right.
You know,
And then the meeting will run longer.
I can tell you one thing that we have to do,
We'll call in for Chinese.
that we shouldn't forget is the cost of the dialogic boards.
I'm gonna try,
So-
if anybody else, you know, if it's a good option, I'm gonna try to get eTalk to cut their prices.
Right.
You know, at one point in time, they did come back with a certain percentage that they were willing to eat. I have it in my notes, it was somewhere in the 10 or 12% or
And
something.
you know, I mean, if it's a problem with their cost in terms of buying the dialogic cards, I'm sure that we could negotiate something with their vendor to give them the Verizon price and allow them to purchase the cards at
Good idea.
Verizon.
That'd be really
That's
good.
what we're gonna try to
That'd
do,
be
but they got a
terrific.
new
If that's
president
the
now.
problem, because, I mean,
But they have a new president now.
Got that nice fella.
And the president may say, well, look, what you did, but you know, what you guys did in 2000 was all well and good. We now got the business. Let's see what's gonna happen for 2002. That's why I said earlier, if we dangle the carrot of having them do the 48-port card, you know, first let's concentrate on the 12-port card, but tell them moving forward, please look into the 24 or the 48-port card.
We're not gonna get this up if we go down that
No,
track.
they don't
That's
wanna-
the problem.
they don't
It's just,
even wanna
even if they
consider
said,
that.
you're right, we won't even charge you, it's gonna take them weeks, if not
Yeah,
months.
but that's
to-
only for 2005.
Yeah.
But once these servers are in and dialogic cards are in, we don't replace them. That's it.
and unless we start hiring more call center.
We're going the
Right.
other way.
We're going the
Isn't
other
gonna
way,
happen.
right. I would say our goal should be by August 1st, to have all these servers in, up, running, and it's end of
Well,
the...
before that, so let's go, so I hear what you're saying, and I think, you know, we'll negotiate through this, and we're not gonna know, I don't wanna, you know, make all kinds of assumptions here right now,
Right.
of what they're gonna come back, we'll see what they come back with, and
We should lay out
we'll
on our
caucus, and we'll
table.
go there.
All we have to do is come back and say, look, you know, we spent 2 months doing this, doing that, this is what we came up with, if it's agreeable to you, we would love it, to, you know, we'd like to do business as usual.
So let's go back to what I was trying to paint here, it's March 4th, believe it or not. We wanna, the goal is to get Scotch Plains and Oradell in by, is it Oradell or Oradale?
Or Riddell.
I lived in New Jersey for 2 years, you never know. Oradell, what's the goal? What's the end of March, 3/28?
That would be great.
So let's.
Is that including Scotch Plains?
Yeah.
They're going in on the
Scotch
same
Plains.
server. Actually, all
Okay,
the
so they're
business
feeding
will
off the
be
same-
on, yep, will be on
So
that same
3/28,
server.
is that a sufficient goal? So
Yeah.
3/28 is our goal. So the question is, with this one dialogic card, what can we come out of this meeting with to meet that 3/28, realizing we got everything that we need?
I think eTalk can ship it with their software, there's no issue.
Yeah, there's no issue for that.
So,
eTalk has never been
Right.
late on the
No.
dialogic card.
okay, so now the rest of, the other issue though is the rest of consumer and business, right?
A deployment schedule for that, right?
And when do you want that done by?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. I mean,
I
you know,
know.
we had said that this was gonna be up, running at least, you know, so we can go back, and that's why we're doing the pilot, so we can prove out to the union and labor relations that, you know, the recording capability is good, blah, blah, blah. And from what I understand, the Andover trial is going very well, minus the fact they don't have agent here, which is another hot topic, but I gotta get that at least up there for the trial, so we can go back to the union and say, look what we got, everybody loves it, blah, 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 and then they can start maybe giving us the okay to go into other states. But in the meantime, we're getting capability to...
Sorry, Mr. Ihad joined?
Welcome, who joined?
Mr. Ihad.
Did Pitchy just ask you to join the bridge?
She is joining in a minute, yes.
Okay.
But in the meantime, getting all of the business and consumer locations up, you know, with at least a live capability. So they have the screen scraping on because they don't, we don't have the recording turned on. Because we still have to get an okay from the union, get to figure out the trial.
Let me ask you a question. We can't get enough with, well, let's do this.
Yeah, John?
Yes, he just joined.
Okay. I discussed with wanted to check with you, whether it is 380, but is saying there is no 370 with compact.
Well, the 370 is not standard. But I mean, Compact does sell them. And last year we got an exception approval by Central Architecture and by Jason Miller for the 370 servers that we had purchased for the call centers in the East. And so what we're looking to do now is to purchase the remainder of those and just extend that exception.
Yeah, if I may ask, what's the, why do we need to go out of standard for the 370? What's the need there?
It's, well, basically the number of PCI slots that are available in the servers is not sufficient in the 380. We need up to 5 empty PCI slots to, to support the number of Dialogic cards that are required. And the 380 doesn't support that, the 370 does. That's basically the net sum of it.
Okay, how many Dialogic cards are you trying to fit in one server?
Up to 5 in some scenarios.
Okay, and how many ports per Dialogic?
1 port. 12 ports per Dialogic.
12 ports per Dialogic.
Right, these are 12-port Dialogic cards.
If I do the math right, 5 times 12, that's 60 ports, right? Per server.
Not
Right.
all the servers, but that would be your biggest server.
Right.
Right, that's fine, but 60 ports you can actually accomplish with, instead of going with 12.
We know where that-
Right.
I know where this was headed.
Well, we looked at doing 24-port or 48-port cards, but the software vendor that's providing the software for this project, they have stated that they do not support anything larger than a 12-port Dialogic board with the DMS switch.
Yeah, so all this was, who joined? Yeah, this is me again. I just thought,
He didn't hear you. Maybe you ought to tell him again, because we need him to
Let
understand
Lois say
this.
this again.
Yeah, the issue with the Dialogic boards is that the vendor that's installing the software on these servers has stated that they do not support they do not support 24 or 48 port Dialogic boards with the DMS switches. So the only type of board that they support is the 12 port.
may I ask who's the vendor?
ETalk.
ETalk. Oh, ETalk. Okay. So basically, where we need your help is, we have purchased the 380, okay? We've got to see whether the 380 could be utilized by another project, and the funds which we get out of it, whether we can purchase the 370. And the 370 was already, an exception was made last year, and we need to get the 370, for the same 13 servers. Yeah, I understand. If it was actually a standard config, like from a 380 to probably swapping with a half number of servers with a 580 or a 760 that is approved, I would say that is no problem, but I would have to check, and I'll make it, of course, my priority to check on this non-standard architecture. I know, and I realize that you guys got an exception last year, and we'll try to get to this exception for this year, but the swapping of servers happens much easier if we remain within the standard.
Right.